Welcome back to Paper Fiore. I'm Kristen Sluin, and I am so glad you're here. I have the opportunity to be an ambassador for Altenew for their December release, and I'm very excited to be here. I'll be featuring in my video today the Arched Foliage embossing folder as well as the petal shaping die tools, but I'm also want to share with you some of the other new products that they have. This is the Zero Waste Wildflower Meadow die. Now, the zero waste dies are fantastic because it gives you so much value for your money and so much that you can do with them. So it cuts out all of these tiny little pieces, and you can use the little pieces as I have done here, but you could also use that leftover background. Now, the flowers that I used here are actually supposed to be wildflowers, but I shaped them with the petal shaping tools to make little poinsettias. Isn't that beautiful? Now, this is like a gift tag or an ornament that you can use, give to people. It's one of my favorite things that I make during the holidays. Now, this next die set is called Paneled Doors, and it is wonderful. It has so many varieties of doors you can use, which is very on trend right now. Perfect, actually, for the holidays as well. Now, this is a card inspired by Jennifer McGuire that we did during the Secret Garden event, and here's another one. And I just love the blue with the colors with it. It just makes them pop so, and it looks so fresh. This is another one from the Secret Garden event, and I absolutely adored it. It is called Ornamental Poppies. It has a large die that you can cut out and use by itself, but then it also has these little flower dies. And again, it has the keyhole system, which is genius just by Altenew. They need awards, really. They're so smart. But this makes beautiful little poppy flowers that you can use with the background die or on their own. And apparently I was having a blue moment when I was doing these during the Secret Garden because a lot of my products were blue and white. Now, this background that I did, I actually took some of their shimmer paste, smeared it on a piece of paper, let it dry, and then die cut it out. And then I ink embossed or ink blended behind it so it would just pop a little bit on the back of that white paper. Now, this next one is so gorgeous. Willow Branches. It is a stencil and die set, and it just makes me think about Savannah or New Orleans and sipping a mint julep on the front porch. Look at this. This is gorgeous. So this one is a fantastic set. If you love that look, I highly recommend this one. The next products that I'm going to be featuring actually in the video is the Arched Foliage embossing folder, and along with the new petal shaping tools. This is really a fun new product. If you are into making flowers, this is really a cool thing to use. But we're going to start with the Arched Foliage embossing folder. Now, it coordinates with the Craft Your Life Arched Foliage set that came out earlier this year. And the Craft Your Life subscriptions are the biggest bang for your buck. I highly, highly suggest you get this. So this one came with a stamp set that has sentiments, tons of sentiments in it. And look, you have die cuts for the stamp sentiments as well as for the Arched Foliage image. Now, that Arched Foliage image in the die also fits in the embossing folder that they just released. Fantastic, right? Now, it also has 3 stencils with it. 2 of them are for the leaves so that you can color in the leaves. And the last one is for creating a background. It gives kind of like a mottled background, like looking through the leaves kind of look. So for this card, I used that in the background, and I decided to use complementary colors on the front because it just really makes that image pop. I really liked how that card came out. Here's another one I did. I just heat embossed it, and I used the other embossing folder that came with the Craft Your Life kit. But today we are going to focus on the new one that coordinates with it along with the die set Fresh Pears. So this has the keyhole system that Altenew is well known for and the new acetate sheets that they are putting in with them. Fantastic. I am going to start with my favorite cardstock from Altenew, their brushed gold cardstock. It's just so gorgeous when you emboss it. So I am going to run it through with the embossing folder, and you just wait till you see how this comes out. It is spectacular. Are you ready? Look at this. Oh, gorgeous. It just looks so lush and luxurious. It's just one of my favorite techniques to use with this cardstock. Now we are going to go ahead and start cutting out our pears, and I'm not going with the traditional green pear. I'm going with a Bartlett pear, which is actually a reddish kind of color. So these are the colors I'm going to go with: the frayed leaf, the ruby red, forest glades, and hunter green cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of those out and make the background a red pear. So here they are all cut out. So the background, the base of the pear is that ruby red color. Then the next color was the forest glades, the darker green, and then the frayed leaf is the highlight of the pear. So to make this pear look a little nicer, I am going to do some ink blending. And actually it's not ink blending, it is ink pouncing. So I'm using my 9 by 12 Altenew sticky mat, greatest on the planet, and I left the acetate on the back of it so that I can move it around on my desk. I tend to move and groove while I'm working, and so being able to move my sticky mat around is okay for me, and that's just how I like to work. Now I'm going to start off with the Forest Glades ink, and instead of ink blending and rubbing the brush, I am going to pounce the brush onto my paper. Now, this is not what you normally want to do, but Bartlett pears and pears in general are kind of speckled. They are imperfect, and that is kind of the beauty of them. So I am going to pounce the ink onto all of my die cuts. So I started with the Forest Glades ink on the lightest part, and it just adds a little bit of shading, a little bit of modeling, and it is okay that even though I'm using that teeny tiny little brush, the mini blending tool, it does give a little circle to it, but that's okay. So the next layer of ink I'm going to add to it is the evergreen. I'm going to pounce. You got to trust the process here. Trust the process, because it goes against everything we've learned how to do to make the most beautiful ink blended little backgrounds that we've been working on for all of these years. Work against it. Go back to the basics. Pounce that sucker. You want to have imperfection on your little pears. It actually adds to the charm and it makes it look so beautiful. So we are going to pounce it. Pounce, pounce, pounce. And it's just going to add some texture and all of that. Now, I'm also going to add the evergreen to the red die cuts, because if you look at a Bartlett pear, they are green with red and they are red with a little green. So we're going to add some evergreen to those red die cuts as well. And again, I mean, look at it, looks like a hot mess, but I promise you, trust the process. It's going to look gorgeous in the end. I swear. We're just going to keep layering ink and it's going to look gorgeous. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to want to eat it. Now we are going to move on to the next color, and we are going to use grapevine. And we are again going to add it to all of our die cuts. Okay. So we're going to pounce, pounce, pounce using our ink blending tool, and we are going to put it all over, starting on the red, get kind of in there, pounce, pounce, ink blend, maybe even just a little bit. But again, trust the process. It's going to look like a hot mess, but you're going to see it. You're going to see it's going to start working its way, and it's going to be looking pretty delicious. So we're going to keep on pouncing on all those green layers as well, because Bartlett pears has a little green and a little red and all over it, okay? So once we have finished doing all of our ink blending, it is now time to assemble. So assembly is super easy with this. We're just going to assemble it just like the back of the packaging tells us how to do it. We're just going to add the glue and we're going to put it all together. Super easy peasy lemon squeezy. So now that I have all of my layers put together on my pear, I am actually going to go back through and I'm going to add a little bit of the Forest Glades ink just to blend it all together. Give it a last little blend, last little pounce, bringing out my 9 by 2, my 12 sticky pad again. And I'm going to just pounce, pounce, pounce and blend just a little bit and just make it look all copacetic. This looking delicious. It's so pretty. Now the next part we're going to do is die cut out our leaves and our branches, and we are going to also ink blend on them as well. And sorry, I kind of didn't get into the camera very well on this one. Sorry about that, but it's just die cutting, and you guys all know what that all's about, right? So I did die cut out my leaves using the hunter green and the Forest Glades, and then I used for the branch Espresso. I had to pull that one out. Couldn't remember the name. Espresso. These are all Altenew cardstocks, which are fantastic. Now we're back to our ink blending. I'm pulling that sticky mat right back out again. I'm using all of the same colors that I used before, the evergreen, the forest glades, and I will even use a little bit of grapevine on there too. I have to say, when I started doing paper crafting, I was just a stamper. I didn't think about using any of the ink blending or any stencils or anything like that. I mean, you remember the stencils from the 80s that you used to put on your walls? I mean, how bad were they? So I was never like really into wanting to try the stencil thing or the ink blending thing, but Altenew changed my life. They changed the way I view a stencil. They changed the way I view ink blending. And I have to say, I am hooked, line, and sinker. So I obviously use the forest glades on those lighter leaves, and I am adding a little bit of that grapevine on the edges of those leaves just to give it a little zhuzh, a little something extra, right? So now that all of the leaves are done, I'm actually going to add a little bit of ink blending also to that branch just to give it a little life, a little love, a little depth, a little something extra. So I love adding the ink blending. Like I said before, I just think it really adds to all of my projects. Now we're into our assembly, and with the keyhole system from Altenew, this has made it so easy. I remember some of their old dies. When I first started with Altenew, I was making these little jigs so I could put them all together. Oh my goodness, it was so hard. But I loved doing it because the results were worth the time and the effort. But I'm telling you, there is no effort with this. Look at those keyholes. They just fit perfectly. And look at those inky fingers. You could tell I had a lot of fun today. I was working with pigment ink, so I had black ink everywhere. But anyway, back to the keyhole system here. Put it on the dies have the keyholes. It's like putting together a puzzle, an easy puzzle, easier than the one like when you were in preschool. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. They just go right together. Then the branch goes right on top, covers up all of the mechanics, so it's like this professional look. I mean, seriously, Altenew just has it together. They just make the best products. Now I'm just going to add in my pears, and look at this. Really, how cute is this? It really is just so cute. Now that last little leaf you put over the branch once you've put everything together. And I did decide to cut out another piece of branch because I don't just want to have my pears floating in the middle of my card. I like to have them going off the edge of the card so it looks like they came from somewhere as opposed to just floating in space. So that's why I've added on another piece of branch there, and I did do some ink blending on it, as a matter of fact. And I'm just positioning on how I want it to look on the front of my card now. But before I assemble it on the front of my card, I need to make the beautiful little pear blossoms. And I've die cut all my pieces out, and I started off with a vellum piece for that little star pieces. You'll see there are little star pieces. Would not recommend doing the vellum. That was, in hindsight, not a good choice. I would use a little bit sturdier of a cardstock. But I did do some ink blending again with some frosty pink in the center of those blossoms just to give it a little depth, a little love, right? And I'm going to go ahead and assemble all of these little things together using the keyhole system. So putting together die cuts I find to be very therapeutic. That is my time when I'm putting these things together where I don't have any sound going on in my studio usually. I have it usually really quite quiet. And it's my time for my thoughts. So when you talk to your husband about wanting to buy new stuff and you want to go make a purchase from Altenew, tell them it's therapy. You just sit there. I'm telling you, the therapy I have gone through in the last 2 months in my craft room working on projects for the holidays has really helped this grieving mom with getting through what she's been getting through. And look at this. I even broke my my tip off of my thing, so I had to resort to my fingers. But it's therapy. It's cheaper than therapy with the cost of the healthcare system right now. Altenew is cheaper than therapy. That's what you tell your husband. You tell him I told you so, okay? You can blame it on me. I'm all for it. I'll take one for the team, okay? So keep working on your therapy, and you put all these little pieces together, and you're just just relax. It is relaxing, actually. It doesn't seem like it is because they're tiny little piddly things, but golly, it sure is relaxing just putting these things together. So now I have my two little flowers together, and I have not put in the centers yet because I want to go ahead and use that new petal tools that have just come out to give these petals on these leaves or on these flowers just a little bit of love, a little zhuzh, right? So I'm going to take one of the smaller ends and I'm going to press it into the curve that has already been die cut into and embossed into it when it was die cut. And it just pressing it down a little bit more gives it a little bit more depth. And then I will also go through with the bigger tool, the bigger end, and just rub around in a circle gently. You want to rub it gently, rub it in there, and it's going to give the little bit more shape to these flowers so it looks more realistic. It really is so pretty when you look at it up close. So hopefully you were able to look at this nice and close and you really see what I'm doing here. You're just going to press into the embossed shapes that have already been done with the die and then use the bigger round one just to make them a little more fluffy. Look at these. Sorry about the inky fingers again, but look at how fluffy they look. And they just pop right off the page with all that dimension. I absolutely think this is a great tool. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the centers of my flowers, and I did die cut them out of the same brushed gold paper that I did for the background. Now this last part you really don't have to do, but I'm an extra girl, so I did it. I am using the Altenew, how do you say it? Gouache, right? I'm using white and black. And then I'm using one of my stamp blocks, and I'm just going to gently sprinkle some of that white on there and a little bit of the black. Now, here's my tip with using a block. The reason I use a block is because it gives you a little bit more control. And depending on how far away you hold that block away from your product depends on where the splatters go. So if you hold it up high, you get it more of a spread of the splatter, but if you hold it down close, then you can direct kind of in a specific place where those splatters go. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Now, after I've done the white and the black, I am also going to pull out my metallic gold watercolors because I love shimmer and shine, and the gold background just wasn't enough for me. So I added some of the metallic gold paint also to this, and when you are done, look at how these come out. I mean, it's just so pretty. Look at this. Oh, the sparkle, the prettiness. Ah, you can't beat it. Finally, we get to assemble our card, and I'm adding some dimension foam on the back of just the pears at this point because I really want them to pop up. And the pear that is furthest in the foreground, I am doing a double. I could have used the 1/8, but I wasn't thinking ahead, and I just used the 1/16, so I just doubled it up to make it 1/8. No big deal. A little bit of liquid glue on the furthest back and the background leaves and part of the stem also. And that's the darker leaves. That's where I put the liquid glue, okay? And that is going to adhere it to the card base, and the foam on the pears is going to hold it down. And then I'm going to go in now afterward and add a little bit of foam to the lighter green leaves because they're a little bit more in the foreground, even though they're still behind the pears. Does that make sense? So I'm just using my tool here just to be able to shimmy it right underneath those leaves. So one more little foam under that front leaf, and there we have the front panel. It is all done. Isn't that looking gorgeous? Oh, love it. Now we're just going to go ahead and add this to our card front, and I'm using the Altenew runner tape, which obviously, as you can tell, I use a lot of it. I mean, I buy it in bulk. Literally, I probably buy 7 or 8 packages every time I do it. And now I'm just going to trim off the edge of the branch that's coming off. I am going to leave the leaf on the other side free, but I'm going to trim the edge of the branch because, you don't want any extra hanging out wood going on there. Now I'm going to add the last little of the beautiful pear blossoms, and we're just going to pop that right on the front. And our card front and the design is already done. Now all we have left to do is add the sentiment. And I am using from the Arched Foliage Craft Your Life set one of the sentiments from there. We just got in about 2 dozen pears from my husband's aunt and uncle. They send us fruit every year. I don't even like to eat pears, but they send us fruit, and I'm going to send them this thank you because I'm not going to be able to see them before the holiday. So this is going to go get popped into the mail right after I'm done making this. Now I have heat embossed black thank you from the Arched Foliage stamp set and die cut it out with the die. And here it is, all done, looking gorgeous. Isn't that just, I mean, easy peasy. I know it's my favorite thing to say. Easy peasy lemon. We need to come up with something for pears. Now, I want you to go and tell your husband that getting Altenew product is cheaper than therapy. It is cheaper than healthcare these days. And crafting is therapy. So you're making an investment into your mental health, okay? Now, with that investment, if you spend $69 or more from now until December 18th at 11:59, you can get a free mini blending brush with your purchase. Just use the code KristenFree and follow the link that is in the description below, in the description on the YouTube channel. And I just so much appreciate you being here today. And thank you so much to Altenew for allowing me to be an ambassador and to make this video and share it with all of you all. I just appreciate it, and I hope you all have a very colorful day and a happy Merry Christmas. Bye.